Good morning. Welcome to the forecast discussion for February 27th, 2012. It is the start of a work week, and it's starting off on a pretty nice note with clear skies throughout the entire northern mid-Atlantic. Temperatures are a little bit chilly, but pretty much on par for this time of year. Temperatures ranging from the mid to upper 20s over the northern interior, especially where you have some of those protected valleys, to the lower to mid 30s over the rest of the region, even a few lower 40s over portions of southern New Jersey, as winds begin to veer to the south and eventually to the southwest. And the reason why those winds are starting to veer is because of high pressure. Now, we're going to be dealing with a very mild day for this afternoon. Then we cool off tomorrow, and then there could be a threat for some snow and ice, which I'll discuss in just a moment. So let's take a look at the infrared satellite picture. You can see high pressure is anchored off of the mid-Atlantic coast, and that's going to lead to a southwesterly wind. Temperatures this afternoon are going to warm very nicely into the lower to mid 50s for most locations, possibly even a few upper 50s in portions of the Philadelphia metropolitan area. Right around the Delaware River Valley, I think you'll have your best chance for some very warm temperatures. On average, temperatures are going to be about 10 degrees above normal for this time of year. Clearly, a very warm and comfortable weather pattern is in place for the region. However, this cold front right here is going to move through tonight. There won't be much in the way of any precipitation with this cold front, just a few scattered clouds. But what it will do is knock down temperatures to near normal levels. And by tomorrow afternoon, we're looking at highs in the lower to mid 40s. Still not anything extreme at all. If anything, we're going to be, instead of 10 degrees above normal, it might be 1 or 2 degrees above normal. So we're not really dealing with a cold air mass, just one that's a little bit more seasonable for this time of year. And then behind this cold front, a new area of low pressure starting to develop in Texas. Well, out here, there we are, right here, this low pressure system and another disturbance entering the Rockies. These two low pressure systems will combine, move towards the Great Lakes, and then track towards New England. And that is where the weather pattern gets a little bit tricky for Wednesday night into Thursday. I'm going to use the European model guides from the Penn State EWAL website, an excellent website for all your model needs. Now here we are for this evening, and you can see here the type of pattern we have in place. We have a trough in the west, a weak ridge in the east, and we have our polar vortex well to the north in Canada. And that means all of our cold air is locked up in Canada, and it's not coming south anytime soon. So again, for this evening, our cold front moves through. There really isn't much in the way of moisture here. There's a lot of dry air, in fact. So I don't expect any showers, but I do expect cooler conditions by tomorrow morning. By tomorrow evening, high pressures in control. Skies are generally clear. Again, there could be a few clouds here and there, but for the most part, we're dealing with dry and comfortable weather conditions. Temperatures near normal. Now, here's where it gets interesting for Wednesday night into Thursday. This disturbance right here will track due east and head towards New England. A warm front ahead of this surface low pressure system right here is going to basically force or drive warm air into the northern mid-Atlantic. Now, I think for Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan area, it's going to be all rain. But to the north and west of the major cities, there could be a threat for some snow and ice, and the reason why is because of this high pressure system right here locking in. With this high pressure system here, we'll have marginally cold air in place, and when it comes to the northern interior and snow, sometimes all you need is some marginally cold air. So I don't expect a major winter storm out of this event, but it is going to be a bit of a nuisance for many locations in and around the northern mid-Atlantic to the north and west of the major cities. The further north you go, like towards Albany and into New England, that's where I think we could see some pretty significant snowfall, especially if the what we call isotropic lifting is very impressive. And what that basically means is think of the air mass like a ramp. Moisture is moving up this ramp from the warm air to the cold air, and as a result, you get this strong lifting and you get heavy precipitation. I think the best potential for that ramp effect will be over New England and over portions of northern New York and possibly even northwestern Connecticut. So once this storm moves through, then we pretty much calm down a bit as the weather pattern becomes a little bit more progressive, and even more progressive, should I say, than it is right now, with cold fronts basically moving through but weakening, and the majority of the lifting associated with these cold fronts focus more along the Canadian border. So after this storm moves through on Wednesday night, we get more Pacific air masses building in, and that's going to keep our temperatures again above normal for the most part. We're talking about temperatures in the mid 40s to lower 50s, possibly pushing into the upper 50s at times ahead of these cold fronts, but no major winter storms whatsoever. So let me just pull up the snow map here, the snow forecast for Wednesday night into Thursday. Now, this is a preliminary map. I do expect changes here, and most of those changes are going to be focused in these areas here. Of course, in green, pretty much an all-rain event. It could see a little bit of snow at the very start, maybe a flurry here or there, but this is pretty much a rain event for the Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan area. However, as you move a little bit further to the northwest, as you move towards Allentown, Wayne, New Jersey, parts of Bridgeport, I do expect a little bit more of a duration of snow. And it's a tricky forecast, but I do expect a mix of snow and sleet changing over to freezing rain and then rain. Accumulations about an inch. Ice accumulations I'm a little bit more concerned about, up to 5/10 of an inch, which on Thursday morning could make for some rather hazardous travel conditions. As we move a little bit further northwest into Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, Poconos, Danbury, Connecticut, portions of the Hudson River Valley to the north of White Plains, looking at a little bit more of a longer duration, anywhere from 2 to 4 inches of possible. Ice accumulations possibly of up to 1/10 of an inch, and it will change over to rain on Thursday morning. Again, this is strongly dependent on how long this cold air can remain sustained, and also how much moisture is going to be associated with this warm front. So I do expect changes to this forecast, but this is the preliminary thinking for now. And as we move well to the north around Poughkeepsie and around Hartford, Connecticut, that's where we're expecting 4 to 8 inches of snow, because the cold air is really going to be able to hang on a little bit longer here, possibly up to 1/10 of an inch of ice, depending on when that changeover occurs. And as we move to extreme northern locations, we're talking just south of Albany, that's where you could see a very heavy snowfall, 8 to 12 inches possible. Again, this is likely to change, but this is based on the latest data right now. Again, the further north you are, the better chance you have for some accumulated snowfall. So if you're heading north, watch out. It could get pretty interesting, especially when you move up towards Albany. So that is the forecast for today. We'll keep an eye on this storm. I think if you're along the coast, there really isn't much to worry about. Just a rainy day Wednesday night into Thursday. Other than that, we'll keep an eye on this storm and see what happens in the northern interior. And then a mild weather pattern again takes hold just in time for March. I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. Keep track with the latest weather information at nynjpaweather.com and nynjpaweather on Twitter and Facebook. Have a great day. Stay safe out there.